Hello, it's John Heaton. Sorry I've been away a bit. I've been on holiday and I took a bit of a break, but I'm back, and today I thought I'd look at a David Bowie album from 1979. It's the album Lodger, which came out in May of that year. This is the front cover, or the back cover, I'm not sure, and this is the gatefold. Slightly macabre picture of Bowie, kind of as if he'd been in an accident, and here's the gatefold pictures, which interestingly did not appear on the 1991 CD here, which I have, which has a couple of bonus tracks which I'll come to, but the CD does have a couple of outtakes, pictures of from the Voice Keep Swinging video of Bowie in drag there, and another couple of pictures from the sessions, including this one with him in the suit from the Boys Keep Swinging video as well. And yeah, this record is talked about as part of the Berlin trilogy, which is a bit misleading, meaning the third part of the trilogy after Low, Heroes. But it wasn't recorded in Berlin, it was recorded in Montreux in Switzerland, unlike the previous two albums, which were recorded in, I think it's Hansa Recording Studios within a stone's throw of the Berlin Wall. This one was recorded in Montreux, and if anything, I would say that the four albums, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry, yeah, no, the one, well, I include Station to Station in terms of mood. Station to Station, Low, Heroes, this album, Lodger, and Scary Monsters. Those five go quite well together as a sequence. But in terms of the musicians, George Murray on bass, Dennis Davis on drums, Carlos Alomar on guitar. Those three play mainly on the second, third, fourth and fifth of that series, Low, Heroes, Lodger and Scary Monsters, because on Station to Station you've got Earl Slick on guitar, for example. But I think that whole period is my favourite Bowie period, from Station to Station through to Scary Monsters, and I think the band that he plays with, mostly with George Murray and Dennis Davis as the rhythm section, is the best he's ever played with. And I know that's saying a lot, because you've got the band who plays on Ziggy with Mick Rumson, Trevor Bolder, Woody Woodmansey is just brilliant as well. So that's probably up there as the equal top band he ever played with, the Ziggy Stardust, Spiders from Mars band. But if push comes to shove, I would say this was his coolest period and his best period in terms of the albums I go back to. And Lodger has always been kind of a bit lost in the mix, because I guess because so much praise has been heaped on the other albums from that series, and this one didn't have any huge hit singles. Not that the other albums did, apart from Scary Monsters, but they've got kind of creative, critical acclaim. Commercially speaking, this album, Lodger, only got to number 4 in the UK and only number 20 in the US. As I say, recorded in Montreux, Switzerland, finished off in Record Plant, New York City. Brian Eno is helping out, co-writing a lot of the tracks here and helping out considerably, as he did on Low and Heroes. Noticed he was absent on the following album, Scary Monsters, which, however, does retain the same feel, in my opinion, as these albums I'm talking about. Brian Eno, formerly of Roxy Music, and then had a distinguished solo career. I was listening to one of his albums with my son Tommy the other day, the one Before and After Science from '77. Very interesting and very Bowie-esque. Particularly reminiscent of Bowie from this period. That album was from '77. Also Adrian Belew on mandolin. Apparently he was just told to play whatever he came into his head. He wasn't given any advance notice about the chord changes or even what key the song was in. Just played the backing tracks, told to play along, which contributes to the kind of unusual atmosphere of this album. Boys Keep Swinging was the lead-off single in the UK, and it's an absolutely hilarious video. Probably my favourite Bowie video of all time, along with Ashes to Ashes. But that video and this video helped the song get to number 7 in the UK, but in the US, I don't think the song was even played on the radio, and the video probably wasn't even shown. So I'm not sure how familiar people in the US in general are with that track. Obviously Bowie fans have checked it out over the years, but at the time it wasn't played because of the Bowie dressing up as a woman, which in these days seems pretty harmless, but in those days it was enough to get the song banned or not released as a single anyway. Anyway, got to check out that video if you haven't seen it. I was reading about, and also interestingly enough, Gordon Murray played a bass line which Bowie said was unusable, so he had Tony Visconti put in a bass line himself. I'm not sure what, I'd be interested to hear the original version with Gordon Murray's unusable bass line, because he's a superb bassist. But having said that, Tony Visconti does a good job with the bass on the finished version. I was reading in the on the internet about a feud around the time between Bowie and Gary Newman, because Gary Newman was having more chart success with Our Friends Electric and Cars, and that was part of the reason apparently Bowie went in the more commercial direction. But he didn't do that immediately after this album. He really didn't do that until he hooked up with Nile Rodgers on the Let's Dance album in '83. But I thought that was quite interesting, and I love Gary Newman's singles of this period. I think they're great, and I think Bowie probably liked them as well, but you know what creative rivalry is. So to the tracks, Fantastic Voyage is a, pun not intended, fantastic opener, and it really continues in the sequence of great openers stretching back. I would go all the way back to Station, with the title track there being absolutely superb, and Speed of Life is about the best thing on Low, or equal best, and then Heroes is the title track, opening track of Heroes, and this Fantastic Voyage is, if not the best track, it's equal best I think on this album, and It's No Game is the best track on Scary Monsters, in my opinion, part 1, along with Ashes to Ashes. So brilliant opening tracks, and then and apparently this song, along with Boys Keep Swinging, inspired a Blur song called MOR from 1997, and Blur put it out, and it was very similar, both in terms of the chord changes and in terms of the backing vocals. So Bowie's team sued them, and they ended up getting Bowie and Eno ended up getting a writing credit on that song, if you look it up nowadays. And also they said that it was kind of borrowed from Boys Keep Swinging and Fantastic Voyage, which have the same chord changes. So we went back and listened to both songs back to back, and they are indeed the same chord changes, particularly at the beginning, but Fantastic Voyage is a lot slower, so it's difficult to pick that up. But I thought that was quite interesting. And then you've got some sort of example of world music with African Night Flight, which is, by the way, the musicianship throughout this album is just, as I've noted, is just brilliant. As songs, as individual songs, they're difficult to kind of hum in the bath or anything, but they've just got a mood to them, and this song is a good example of that. Move On is Bowie with his similar vocal that he uses on Boys Keep Swinging. It's pretty decent and great musicianship. Again, Yassassin was a single in certain territories. A kind of reggae beat to it, very catchy, excellent. Red Sails, again, difficult to hum, couldn't recall the tune to you right now, but I love it. It's a good mood to it. DJ was a big hit single, not huge, but interesting video of this on this compilation here. And if you're wondering where Bowie was in the video when he's walking down the street and all the girl fans are coming up to him and kissing him, that was in Earl's Court in London, which I thought was interesting, because he was at the height of his fame here, and he just went out in the street, and of course he was getting mobbed left, right and centre. So DJ is a really good track, and quite kind of overlooked track from this period, because it's got all the elements of, say, Ashes to Ashes, just not quite as catchy to be a #1 hit single, but great guitar from Carlos, as usual. Look Back in Anger, again, a superb musicianship, not quite commercial enough to be a huge hit single. Interesting video on that video compilation I just showed you, and an overlooked track from this period. Boys Keep Swinging. I remember when I first heard this as a 15-year-old in 1979, thinking this is a bit generic, nothing too special, but now I absolutely love it, and seeing the video helps, of course, and Crank It Up Loud. Great backing vocals from Bowie and Tony Visconti. I noticed Tony and David are doing the backing vocals on virtually every track to great effect, particularly on this track and on Fantastic Voyage. And great screaming guitar solo at the end from Carlos, and in the middle, actually. Brilliant. Repetition, only 3 minutes long, and again, a moody track with superb musicianship. Interesting lyrics. I can't pretend to tell you what they're about. Red Money, the same. Very compulsive track, co-written by Bowie and Alomar, but I'm not sure what the words are about, but interesting. And so that's a great opener to the original album, closer to the original album. Then you've got a bonus track called I Pray Ole, recorded with the same band as the album. And that's okay, nothing special. Good Look Back in Anger is a kind of new version from 1988 and not too satisfactory in my opinion. Prefer the original. But so that was Lodger. I think it's an overlooked album, and people say nowadays that it is one of Bowie's underrated albums. But maybe it's because the cover wasn't particularly sort of eye-catching. I remember I probably saw this when it came out in '79 because I was following albums coming out that year in particular, and this cover doesn't sort of grab you, so I didn't think must rush out and buy this. Whereas the Scary Monsters cover, I was very drawn to that immediately and went and bought that pretty quickly. But this album, I didn't have it on vinyl for years and years and years. I picked up this CD in the early '90s. And yeah, if you haven't heard it, it's a very rewarding listen. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.